This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
Hey guys, how many letters are in the alphabet?
26?
22, because E.T. went home and somebody shot J.R. Hey fellas, why couldn't the Ghostbusters ever finish Oregon Trail?
I don't know.
Because they couldn't cross the streams. How do you find Will Smith in the snow? Look for the Fresh Prince. And last but not least, we all know the zip code to Beverly Hills is 90210, but do you remember the one for Dawson's Creek?
No.
It's 90108 405 2304.
No, but no.
What is going on right now?
What, you saying those 90s and 80s jokes don't hold up? Is that what you're saying?
We gave him sugar before the show, and this is what has happened.
90s jokes.
Welcome to Big Cell. I'm Joel.
I'm Kent.
And Jacob.
And we'd like to thank you for listening to our Dungeons and Dragons show.
What an experience.
Indeed.
We're not Dungeons and Dragons people, but we were able to participate in a game and enjoy the process.
Do you guys remember your names from the Dungeons and Dragons show?
I remember Joel's.
Do you remember?
I remember
my
both
name?
of yours, but not mine.
I'm Kivros Dark Eyes.
Yeah,
you are
Dark Eyes.
Jembin Safaredge.
And I
Yeah.
was
And
Jamkis
you are
Laughshield.
Jamkis
Lord Laughshield.
Little Tiny Lord Laughshield.
But it was also kind of funny listening to the reactions of people listening to the episode. For example, CC Cummings said, was not excited when I saw the episodes about Dungeons and Dragons, but you must have cast a mighty spell because you won me over and had me laughing out loud. Thank you, Dark Eyes, Dragonborn, and Lord Laughingstock.
I'm Dragonborn.
So close. So close.
That is awesome. Yeah, but thank you everyone for listening. Go check it out if you haven't. And even if you're a little, worried about a D&D show or ever playing the game, it's a pretty good intro. And I think myself, I would play again.
I would too. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
It's like, like acting in audio.
What?
Whoa.
Yes. Also, I wanted to bring up the fact that we just had a Bacon Council meeting this past week.
Yes, we did.
Where we got together with the members of the Bacon Council. We bought them dinner, and we were able to have a nice meeting and talk about upcoming shows. It was a lot of fun, and it's all because they're part of the Bacon Council, which is one of our tiers at patreon.com/baconsale.
So if you want to join them, go to patreon.com/baconsale.
And get all the secrets that we talk about at the Bacon Council.
There's a lot of cool stuff there. And honestly, the Bacon Council, we give them some pretty sweet perks.
I'm a
it's
little worried,
involved,
though.
and we really like them.
I'm worried, though, because we expose some secrets, and I'm worried that if, heaven forbid, they ever leave the Bacon Council, they'll still have those secrets.
I had them sign a non-disclosure.
Oh, we're good then.
Yeah.
Like you could kill them if they broke the NDA?
I don't know if you know how NDAs work.
But is that what you're going to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're not talking about NDAs today. What are we talking about today, Jacob?
Today, we're trying something new. We're going to play Does It Hold Up, basically. And we have watched 4 old comedies.
Oh, don't say old.
Yeah, no, it's not say old.
I'm
They're
saying that sounds like a
old.
millennial. It's like they're so old. It was like 1995.
That was a long time ago.
Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. So how old are these? About 25 years?
Yeah, we're going this.
Plus
The oldest one
30.
is 1989,
Yes.
so 30 years. We've had this idea stewing for a while, and generally it was like, yeah, we should see if these movies are still good, but we're never going to take the time to watch these older movies.
Yeah.
But we purposely made it a rule to watch 4 movies, and thankfully our 4th one was chosen also on Patreon. And so we each chose a movie going into here, and I don't know if
And
we
the
want
criteria
to
was-
give the movies now.
Well, we can, but I was going to say the criteria was we wanted to choose movies that we hadn't seen for a long time, but that we watched in our youth and enjoyed.
Like, do we say about 20 years? Like, we shouldn't have seen this in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, the problem was you kept saying that.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I own that one. I own that one. I own that one. Like all these movies you guys are throwing out, these old comedies that you were wondering if they
Yeah,
held
but the
up. I was
ones
like,
the
oh.
ones we brought up, though, did any of those
One of
meet
them I
the
had
criteria?
seen recently enough that it was still counted as I hadn't seen it for a long time, and then I just watched it again just before we did the show.
Okay.
Like we didn't choose Porky's because Joel watched that series like a week ago.
Yeah, he invited me
Right,
over
So
like 2 weekends
annual
ago.
event.
Of course it is.
Porkies. So why are you bringing up Porkies?
Because that's the kind of show this may turn into.
Porkies? You think Baconsale's going to turn into Porkies?
So, I sure hope not.
Okay, lest any of my nieces and nephews who listen to the show look that up, just so you know, Porky's is a raunchy comedy from the 80s.
It's about pigs.
No,
It's an
it's
animated
not.
movie from DreamWorks
No, it's not.
about little pigs.
They're going to
Yeah.
look it up.
Don't look it up.
It's a raunchy comedy.
They're going to now that you've said it.
Family friendly to
So
both
we
of you.
had some rules. We met over the past week. We watched these 4 movies, and the rule was put your phone away and pay attention, because comedies are something that really demand you pay attention, because you may have liked something back in the 90s and laughed at a joke or some crass bit of comedy, but maybe there's something in the background that you didn't notice. Maybe there is a hidden joke somewhere.
This is why comedies are the most dangerous one to choose to go back and watch, because they're the most susceptible to aging badly.
Yes.
You know, like,
I don't know, those techno movies age pretty badly. The techno sci-fi.
No, those
like
hold up.
the Net.
Hackers.
No, the Net is great.
Hackers was pretty cool.
But here's the thing about it is, back in the day when we watched these movies, there were no real major distractions in the palm of your hand. But nowadays, and Kent, you probably do this too, Jacob, I don't know if you do, but when I'm watching a movie, I'm checking IMDb to see who that person was, or maybe flipping over
I'm editing a show.
Twitter to see what that actor's up now. Like,
I actually pay pretty good attention. In fact, if someone else starts talking to me, even if it's a stupid show, I pause.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I can't handle it. I'm like, no.
like a deer in headlights. He doesn't even say anything. He just stares. He pauses it and just stares at the
I'm
screen.
generally cuddling, and you
With
know,
whom?
generally lady friends.
This isn't the Game of Thrones episode, Kent.
Generally lady friends.
Generally.
That was my dance name
That's
in
what I was
college.
laughing at.
Generally. Let's fill in the other 49%.
I don't want to be overt about it, but yeah, like it's like, hey, let's watch a movie we both like, and then you don't watch the whole movie. That's all.
That happens.
Yeah. And
Are you saying this is what happened with these shows?
No, these ones, I was like making an
Back
effort.
off, general ladies.
Oh, they sound so serious and strict. But yeah, so we have.
You're getting him excited.
Yeah. What is happening?
What's happening to this show? See, I told you it's going to turn into Porky's.
No, it's not. Most time that movie's been referenced in the last decade by any podcast ever.
So
That's going to be
wait for
our deep
future
dive show. It's going to be about
No,
Porky's.
it's not.
So we have 4 movies that we are going to talk about, and talk about maybe some of the better jokes, maybe what the director or cast has done. And if you haven't seen these movies, we'll let you know if you should. But
That is the idea.
do they hold up? Baconsale approved.
So this is the question that we just came up with. I think this was Joel's. It's, should this one have stayed in our memories?
For
Is
example,
it safer there?
For example, I remember on our non-Disney animated show, we talked about Land Before Time.
Yes.
And I had these fond memories of Land Before Time. And then I watched it as an adult, and I was like, holy cow, this movie is slow and not
There's
that
still great
exciting.
parts to it, though.
There were, but it was one of the things where I was like, I kind of wish I'd left out my memories, because I had such a positive feeling for it, and now I don't have as many positive feelings towards that movie.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
but that's the thing. Some of these movies, in my memory, they were hilarious. But then I watch them again, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is really awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And we may do follow-up episodes of this where maybe we choose a different genre or maybe even more comedies.
Yeah.
But let's get started.
Indeed.
What is our first movie?
Started. Our first movie is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, released in February of 1989.
2 seemingly dumb teens set off on a quest to prepare the ultimate historical presentation with the help of a time machine.
And we talked about this one on our time travel episode 2 years ago, I think.
And just references always.
Listen,
Yeah.
do you guys have any like cool background facts you want to share first?
Oh, well, real
get
quick,
into it.
like the director is Stephen Herrick. He did 101 Dalmatians.
The live action one.
The live action. Mr. Holland's Opus. The Mighty Ducks. The Three Musketeers. And Critters.
And Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Well, sure.
One of our favorites.
The writers from this movie have done a Goofy movie, Mom and Dad Save
That'll be the
World,
deep dive episode.
Men in Black, the Now You See Me trilogy, and yes, there's going to be a third one.
wow.
Super Mario Brothers, and the upcoming Bill and Ted Face the Music.
The third movie.
So they're taking the original writers. This was clearly a very dated, very California-heavy movie, and now they're going to give them a huge movie in 2020.
All right, are you guys ready for a funny reveal?
Yeah.
Sure.
I had never seen this movie.
What?
Yeah, I thought I had.
I don't understand.
I thought that
We've
I had.
talked about this so many times.
So I had seen Bogus Journey
Oh, yeah, yeah.
as a
The sequel.
child.
Yeah.
And
Did you judge us every time that we said we love this movie?
and
I
assumed
still like Bogus Journey.
Well, I mean, it's likable, but it's no excellent adventure.
Yes, I did. But honestly, it was like through the lens of like a 12-year-old or 13. Whenever it was that I saw Bogus Journey, then I had that vague memory of it and always thought it was Excellent Adventure. And I went to watch it and I'm like, I've never seen this.
Wow.
I don't know anything that's going on.
That's great, though, because that means that this is going to be a fresh experience for you.
Yes, it was.
So this one was one I watched all the time. Like, I had lines memorized. I still have lines memorized from this movie.
For instance,
Just things of like, Abraham Lincoln when he's saying, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Perfect.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But this had a budget of $6.5 million and it made $40.5 million. So
It's
5
surely
times
a
its budget.
lot since.
And once again, this is the introduction of Keanu Reeves.
Yes. And Alex Winters.
Well, yeah.
You say,
Who's in Lost Boys?
You say just the movies. It's true, Jacob, because they also had 2 TV shows. They had a Universal Studios stage production. They had a serial. I think they had a soundtrack. Like they had all sorts of tie-ins to this movie.
Yeah.
It was a surprise hit because this whole movie was based on a comedy sketch the two writers did where they get up and talk about historical events as these 2 idiots. And they decided to make a movie out of it and had no idea the impact it was going to have.
Well, it feels like a student project. So, I mean, that makes sense. Like the whole thing, it feels like it's like an after school movie, except made
so it's
a little better.
It's generally just a concept made into something very entertaining because the movie starts out and Rufus is talking about how the future was saved by these 2 rockers.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a weird surfer bro comedy, not a bro comedy.
Yeah.
And it just becomes weird and becomes a Doctor Who adaptation.
Well, so originally it was supposed to be a 1969 Chevrolet van was their time machine, but then they thought it was too close to the Back to the Future, so they switched to a phone booth, which is
even
Doctor
closer.
Who.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they were exactly thinking.
And if we're
but I had
should've
no
used a hot tub.
I had no concept of Doctor Who as a kid.
Of course
so
not.
to me it was like, oh, cool.
You're like those
phone booth. That's awesome.
Those Brits stole the idea from Bill and Ted's.
How dare you? Well, this
Back in
phone
time.
booth definitely was not bigger on the inside because both Keanu Reeves and Alex Winters have both commented that they hated the scenes where they had to film inside the phone booth because it was always just hot and crowded and terrible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when they had all those people in there.
It's funny because, we see as most movies fail, like especially in the 80s, they're like, in the year 2017, and they're flying cars or a post-apocalyptic world, and it's really funny. Well, in this movie, like the weird lawnmower man timelines
don't
or whatever
compare
they
this
are.
to Lawnmower Man.
No, like the visuals are lawnmower
The time
man.
circuits?
Yeah, the time circuits.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
It's bad. Like,
It's
you
fine,
know.
I thought it was funny.
It's the
I mean,
concept
it's-
of the phone booth.
But I mean, you're like, okay, if there's anything that dates this movie besides their slang, it's the special effects here.
It is. But I'll tell you what, the reason why I think this movie is able to still, I'll say it, hold up today, is because it's kind of trapped in that period, and therefore it becomes an icon of that period. Like other movies are dated, and it just feels dated. This one's like an 80s movie, feels 80s, looks 80s, and so it's become this bubble, impenetrable bubble of like, it doesn't feel dated, it's like a time capsule.
Okay. Would you say this is good still because of Keanu Reeves? Or if we didn't know Alex Winters or Keanu Reeves at this point, this would still be a favorite movie?
I think this would still be a favorite movie only because for the longest time, Keanu Reeves was Ted. Like that was the only thing I knew him from. And the reason why I gave him any other chances was because he was Ted. He was Ted Theodore Logan.
But not really for that long, because then you had Speed in 95.
He was always Ted to me.
Neo in 99.
Still Ted to me.
Wow.
He was Ted
Much
on a bus.
Much Ado is
Ted
where
on
I
a
saw him
computer.
first.
Yeah, much ado. He's always been
Ted in Shakespeare. He was
a little
Ted.
bit, yeah.
In fact, Keanu Reeves, I think, expressed at one point that he was worried his epitaph would be "Here lies Keanu Reeves. He played Ted." But
So, would you say it's evergreen comedy?
I would say only because yes, it's that time capsule. Because the way they speak, the way they interact, the way they dress, it's so fun to look back at. Like, oh yeah,
It's irrelevant. I think it's only a time capsule because nothing about this applies to the real world at this point.
but it applied to the world then.
It did.
In fact, the
But
whole
does
movie
that mean
is a
it
history
doesn't hold
lesson.
up, right?
I think so. I think this movie, as I was watching it, I forgot how much I loved the music. Like even that opening song, "I Can't Break Away." Dun, 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 boom.
But
I
removing
was so into
nostalgia
that.
glasses because you must in this show.
But that's just
Yes,
it. I thought
indeed.
I had the hardest time taking off those nostalgia glasses, and in fact, they may have still been on the bridge of my nose the entire time. I still objectively think that, and I can prove this by saying I did show this one to my kids. They thoroughly enjoyed it. Like they really enjoyed this movie.
Now, was there anything that was a little bit crass or went over your head or your kids' heads?
We used ClearPlay,
Okay.
so I didn't have to hear him say certain words that may not be
like guess a number.
Well, and that okay. So the guess a number thing, Kent. 'Cause
Yeah.
my wife and I were talking about this. I actually think, in my mind as a kid, I thought it referred to the year of music. Like
You were so cute. Up until
they're
when?
rockers. It made sense.
Till his wife told him.
But and there's other words in there that definitely wouldn't be used today in movies. But I feel like,
In fact, there's one S word, one H word, slur, and 9 S words spoken in French.
yes.
So the majority of the vulgarity
most of that is Napoleon.
is Napoleon in this
Napoleon,
movie.
yes,
And I would
yelling.
say the Napoleon scenes are the highlight of the movie.
It's
Because
so
when
funny.
they time jump and pick people up, they're kind of pointless sketches. Like rewatching this movie, I'm like, cool, you picked up Socrates or Socrates, and you
didn't
said,
like when he does dust,
I love Dust in the
Kansas,
Wind.
Dust in the Wind.
But it's like, it's here and there, and then they pick him up, and it's like, okay, cool, let's get back to San Dimas. I think the Napoleon scenes are the highlight. Ziggy Piggy.
That's
Or the
Ziggy
water
Piggy.
slide scenes.
Yes. By the way,
That
the direct-
montage was crazy long.
of him doing the water slides.
Yes, I'm literally watching. Like, is this still going on? Like, it's been like 10 minutes of Napoleon on water slides. Like, why
Napoleon
is
at Waterloo. But
yeah.
So the thing is, okay, Ziggy Piggy, by the way, the two directors of the movie are the ones who
bring the ice
waiters
cream?
who bring the
Okay.
ice cream to
Right.
him. Napoleon, the guy who plays Napoleon, is actually Australian.
Is he?
Yeah, I thought he was French this whole time, but he's not. But you speak of words
whole
that are
life
used
is a
there.
lie.
There are 70 uses of dude throughout the movie, as well as 30 uses of excellent.
What's the legacy of this movie other than Dude, Where's My Car?
This movie. Okay, by the way, Germany. I didn't write the word down, but apparently, like this.
Oh, yeah, there
this
was, like-
word. There's a word that was created for this movie that Germans still use today as kind of slang, like cool
Really?
or excellent.
Now, Joel, I've been asking you a lot of questions, but Jake, I need to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Was
Yes.
this laugh out loud funny? Were there guffaws in this movie?
Guffaws, gosh. There was honestly a ton of smirking, right? Like it was smirk worthy, just almost start to finish. Like, what, for real? For real this is happening? Oh my gosh, really? One thing before I answer that question, I was really impressed by how smooth the editing was.
Yeah.
The whole thing is really tight, other than Napoleon on the water slides, which felt like they were just how
filling out the runtime.
do we fill in this time? Yeah. And in the mall a little bit, but like the
the mall
storytelling
stuff's awesome.
it was really tightly edited.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that. Guffaws, I don't remember any, but I did laugh. But the main thing I went away thinking is how it just kind of like time capsule is exactly right, Joel. It's like this doesn't apply to absolutely any piece of the world I recognize today. But if we go back to around 1990, it's like, okay, I get it.
Well, and I think one of the reasons this movie succeeds in time travel, but also in general, is because it does not take itself too seriously. It's like we're playing fast
seriously.
and loose with these rules. I'm going to make
Yeah.
a garbage can fall on my dad somehow at this exact moment.
Yeah.
And then even when he's like, set a timer.
Remember a garbage can? I'm like, well, wait, what?
when he says set a timer on this tape recorder to play at this
And it
specific
falls
time,
from the prison ceiling.
and I remember thinking to myself, have I ever had a tape recorder that had a timer on it of when to play?
No.
But in the movie, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Also, I've never had, and I don't know if you guys did, have any of your school reports been done in an auditorium with the entire school
The
watching?
entire school.
Yeah, that was a little strange. I have a couple of questions for you guys. Okay.
Please.
Who would you share this movie with? Would you share it with anyone?
Oh, yeah. This is when I showed my kids to introduce them to the concept of time travel movies.
Okay.
I would share it with the younger audience because if someone's 13, they're a lot smarter than we were when we were 13 or that age. So I would show it
I've
to
seen some YouTube videos.
probably, oh yeah, you're right. 10 or 11 year olds and hope that they find it funny, at least likable.
Yeah.
Because I think if they're too old, they'll be like, what is happening? Unless this trend of their style or their humor somehow comes back around in this decade.
Who knows?
Good. We're doing the third one.
But yeah, a younger audience for sure.
It's definitely not a movie for adults. This is a movie for
It
tweens
is
and
kids.
kids.
Yeah, tweens is
Yeah,
exactly
Wild
right.
Stallions, and then they do the air guitar and the air guitar plays over the movie.
Bogus.
Yeah. Would you watch it again?
Totally. I own this one. I own both of them.
100%.
100%?
Yeah.
Date night?
Yeah.
Snuggle up and not
Could you
finish
cuddle
it?
to this movie?
Yes, absolutely.
Honestly, it seems like a perfect one for that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because
You
he
gonna
doesn't.
call her a bodacious babe
Oh,
and then go
the
in for a kiss?
princesses.
He's going to be like, let me educate you culturally.
So when they kidnap Beethoven, everyone reacts to the phone booth arriving except for Beethoven. Why?
Because he's deaf.
Because he's deaf. Then when he goes into the mall and the guy's like, here, let me show you something. And he turns on the synthesizer.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Beethoven's like, oh, this is amazing music. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's deaf. You established that earlier in this movie.
It was needed for the montage.
But even as a kid,
Man, that didn't even
recognized
cross
that.
my mind. I don't know how. I missed
By the way,
that.
did you recognize Joan of Arc?
No.
She is Jane Weedlin from the Go-Go's. She's one of the main people in the Go-Go's.
Okay.
Fun story.
I had a major crush on one of the princesses as well. The
Dark-haired?
brunette princess. Oh, Mercy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Still do.
Her name's Mercy, huh?
Yes.
Oh, Mercy.
All right. Should this be remade?
No.
Ever?
No.
Well, it is being remade.
no,
It's remade.
there's
It's a sequel, yeah.
Yeah, but it's being relaunched to a new audience
I
because
think-
new audience has not seen this movie.
Man, 2020. That seems weird. Is that going to do well?
They've talked about this sequel
It's got Keanu Reeves in it.
since like
this
they've
point, that's all that
legitimately talked about the sequel since 2010, and now it's finally being remade. And it seems, honestly, I like the plot. We've talked about the plot before, but with the same writers, I feel like they were good then, and I don't know if they'll grab onto humor now.
Is old Bill and Ted doing the same shtick going to be as funny? Because it's like
No.
when I didn't see Dumb and Dumber yet, but I feel like seeing
It's
Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels doing that shtick
horrible.
and they're older is just not
Yeah.
funny.
It's Dumb and Dumber 2 because Dumb and Dumber is the
Yes.
prequel.
And
Why do
saw
I
that
know
one,
this?
Which was also terrible.
If it follows the same vein as Cobra Kai, it could be pretty good.
Which would be great.
Yeah.
That's very unlikely.
It's very unlikely
Yeah.
because that's a certain kind of camp.
Okay. Anything else we want to say about this one?
I would say rewatching this, I never went, ha! Yeah, it's awesome, but this movie is so darn likable. I was smiling the entire
Get a
time.
goofy
It
grin on
is.
your
It's
face.
stupid
Just
likable.
never laughing. And I wanted to, but I
Yeah.
went, man, I sure like you movie. It's
Yeah,
situationally funny.
that's kind of me.
So I have played my hand. I think it does hold up. Kent, does it hold up?
It holds up.
Jacob, does it hold up from your not seeing it before?
I kind of like I said before, the quick answer is yes. I especially would encourage someone to watch it if they want to experience culture from that era. But if they
It's like
expect
Clueless
it,
for the 90s.
But if they expect it to hold up and be like, I'm going to connect to this movie today, I don't know if that's going to happen because that's just not going to happen. No tween is going to
Because
connect
everyone
to it
has
now.
seen this where it's like, you're going to get an F in school unless you do this grand thing. Okay.
But have they?
It's basically like, go look at how ridiculous this was 30 years ago. It's so cool. You're going to laugh the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have a time machine just so Ted won't go to military school. Like, you can do anything with the
Okay,
time machine.
First of all, they have a phone booth with a phone book where you have to dial numbers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
like the phone book. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, let's move on.
Okay, what's next?
Our second pick was So I Married an Axe Murderer from July 1993.
A San Francisco poet who fears commitment suspects his girlfriend may have a knack for killing off her significant others.
And which sounds like a weird concept for a comedy, but a romantic comedy. And director was Thomas Schlamm, who did episodes of The Wonder Years and Friends and Mad About You. So
Mostly
very
just
90s.
TV, really interesting.
Mostly, yes. Starring Mike Myers, who you may recognize from Shrek and Austin Powers.
You may not recognize him anymore.
Yeah,
Wayne's
and then
World,
Nancy
Saturday Night
Travis.
Live.
Written by a guy who wrote the upcoming movie Granddaddy Daycare.
No, they're doing another Daddy Daycare.
Granddaddy Daycare. By the way, the only returning cast member is George Wendt.
No.
I think he wasn't even the original. I think he was in the sequel.
George Wendt still alive?
I think so.
By the way, this
It's CG, actually. It's CG George Wendt.
This had a budget of $20 million, which was pretty common for that type of movie around that time. But box office was only 11.5 million.
20 million? That seems kind of high for a
I
little
thought
comedy.
so too, but
yeah.
then I was looking around at the highest grossing movies of the year, and they're all about 20 million. So this was the Mike Myers vehicle. I mean, he had been on He was on Saturday Night Live at the time. Wayne's World was just the year before, so this was kind of his starring role. Let's put him out there as a non-SL character, as a leading man in a romantic comedy, and see how it did.
And didn't do well.
It didn't do well, but that was a surprise to me because I swear everybody was quoting this movie back in the day.
Do you think it's a regional
No.
thing? I wonder if it's just like regional for people
Let's
that
ask
were...
Jacob.
Look at the size of that boy's head.
But I mean, for people that really love PG-13 comedies, this rang true. This was originally meant to be a Woody Allen or Albert Brooks style movie.
Yeah.
Even Gary Shandling was meant to be the main
I think
character.
Chevy Chase was in there at one point.
Yeah, he
too.
was like the last guy they considered. And it had this plot that was very similar to a Woody Allen movie. And then Mike Myers came in and kind of steamrolled the entire thing.
He did a lot of rewrites, him and his buddy, and then his buddy couldn't
Apparently,
get
he's
credits.
a real rough guy to work with.
Well, because he had an idea of what he wanted the movie to be, and I don't know what it would have been like otherwise. I think it turned out okay. It was funny because this is definitely 90s as well.
So
because
90s.
there's a part where he's watching A Current Affair while using a Thigh Master. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so like nostalgic to look back at these things. Even that boom Current Affair sound effect. But I mean, was beatnik poetry big in the 90s?
No.
Like what Mike Myers plays a character
He was
named
just
Charlie.
having fun with it.
That's what he brought into it because he wanted to be a hipster feel, and so he put it in San Francisco. And it was all about like in Friends, right? They were at the coffee shop all the time, and this was that kind of movie.
Except he wasn't at the coffee shop all the time. He just went there to go read a poem, and that's how he made a living. I still don't understand it.
And drove a pretty nice car.
Did he have a job?
He's a poet. That's what they call him. Is he's a poet, and I'm like, yeah, but poetry doesn't pay the bills, bro.
Also, one thing I didn't notice while watching this movie, and maybe I watched it mostly on TV when I was young, 3 F words in this movie for a PG-13 movie.
3. There's 2.
3.
3.
Where's the third? The ones when he's talking about the Scottish fighting style. The ones when the phone gets hit by an axe. Where's the other one?
There's another one.
Where?
Do you want me to...
Does the Scottish fighting style count? Because he kind of says it differently.
It counts.
We had to mute it as kids, so it counts.
The language is a little bit sparse, but these are things I didn't really get when I was younger.
Well,
really, any crass references in any comedy, I didn't understand.
Well, and there's other parts that I was like, I was thinking I'd actually show this one to my kids because I'm like, it's kind of a darker comedy that could be fun for them to see. But there's a couple scenes where I went, I don't want my kids seeing that.
Yeah.
Why did I watch this when I was their age?
Yeah.
But
and speaking of
Like when he
butts,
comes exactly when he comes down in the towel to meet the friend, I'm like, why would you come downstairs in the towel?
because
Why?
he's excited to see the friend. But that's when it shows his bum.
so
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense.
this
It's like,
movie, even more than Bill and Ted's, and this movie leading on to our next two, is really where the main comedian, the lead in each movie, just owns their comedy in the movie because there's so many Mike Myers moments here. There's a script, and then there's Mike Myers playing Mike Myers.
Like at the very beginning, one of the first things that happen is you watch this giant coffee cup handed to him, and then he literally does like a 30-second bit on how big the cup is as like a stand-up
To
routine
nobody.
to the camera.
Yeah.
And it's always like, I remember every time I watch that, I'm kind of like,
It's a Campbell's Cup, Ochino.
my side, aide-moi. Not that I can
Actually, when I was a kid,
this movie start to
when I
finish.
loved Mike Myers, and I really did, I appreciated that. Now watching it, it made me cringe. Truthfully.
no, he's cringeworthy.
The opening part
when
is cringeworthy.
It's honestly when he's playing other people that I'm like, okay, this is like
When
you
he's
are
the
talented.
dad?
Like, as the dad is great. The dad's a great character.
So here's the funny thing
Stewart
about
is great.
that. Here's the funny thing about that. They did the table read. They didn't have the dad cast. So Mike Myers just did the voice for the dad. They loved it so much they made him a second character. Sharon Stone was actually attached to this movie at first, and she wanted to play dual roles as Harriet and Rose.
Okay.
Oh,
And they
that's
said,
funny.
no, we don't want you doing dual roles. She's like, fine, I'm out. And so they had to pull in Nancy Travis last minute.
Well, it's good. Nancy Travis is the real shining star here. There is so much for her to do. Like, not only, and if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it, but she has to act interested in Mike Myers and also worried about
Which
what
is
could happen
pretty
to him.
amazing.
Yeah.
Which okay, so here's the
hold on,
whole,
real
the whole
quick.
point of the movie.
Is there
the whole
any
point of the
chemistry
movie
there ever?
Is that Mike Myers, Charlie, is not sure if Harriet, his girlfriend, is a killer that is talked about in the weekly.
did we never
World
do the
News.
premise? We didn't
We
do the-
did.
oh, we
but I'm
did.
boiling it down just for that reason because she plays a great role of you don't know if she's innocent or if she's guilty.
quite good.
Yeah.
And she does a good job of playing both of those.
Also, and going back to the Mike Myers comedy thing, he is the kind of guy you invite to a party, and he's telling jokes 3 minutes after everyone forgets about like what was actually funny, because he takes every situation and adds a joke to it. Like when they're in the bathtub and he has to answer the phone. Like
I
it's a
love
sketch.
that part.
It was
Really?
funny, but it's not funny.
Yes, could you beat the car around?
It's not
Thank
funny
you so
anymore.
much. I laughed.
I
Again,
feel like that
I
has no
still
replay
laugh.
value whatsoever.
Yeah.
This one made me laugh a lot.
But there are really funny parts in this movie. For example, like anytime Stewart's his dad on screen and they're just watching TV, it's great. I don't know. There's a timeless nature to
One of my favorite lines.
the impersonation
To
of his
awkward-
Scottish dad.
Yeah.
One of my favorite
exactly.
lines is when after he yells at his kid about how big his head is, and he leans over to Tony, he's like, "Oh, that was offsides, wasn't it? He's gonna cry himself to sleep tonight on his huge pillow."
And by the way,
That's
Anthony,
so
Anthony
good.
LaPaglia,
I love that.
it was actually busting up.
Yeah, it's real
were
loud.
Oh no,
the actual
you can
cuts.
see it there. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, he can't even contain himself. Like he's just dying.
This had a ton of cameos from different comedians. Like Stephen Wright is the pilot in the plane.
Yeah.
Charles Grodin is the man in the
So
car.
good.
Alan Arkin is the cop, which I think is a great
It's
role
a great
for Alan
role.
Yeah,
Arkin.
yeah, yeah.
Phil
It was
Hartman
good.
in this movie.
Yeah,
Phil
Phil
Hartman.
Hartman.
Yes,
for
it's
me,
Vicky.
probably my favorite moment because he's telling this terrible, grisly story about
Yes.
prison, and then it ends terribly. And he says, "This way to the cafeteria." And I was like, "Oh, that got me."
No, that was a funny part. But okay, so here's the thing about Mike Myers playing dual roles is it didn't feel to me like a Tyler Perry or Eddie Murphy type thing where it was, look how funny I am. It legitimately felt like a different character.
Yeah, he's good at it.
To me.
He's genuinely good at it.
Better at that than he is at playing Charlie.
No, he's better at the other roles than like being like himself or being just like a guy.
But can I ask you a question? The mom, who was actually the pigeon lady from Home Alone 2.
Oh, you're right.
But the mom, her hitting on Tony, was that not a little weird for everybody? She like hits on Mike Myers' best friend, Charlie's best friend.
I thought it was funny.
And the whole time I was like, why are we going with the subplot here?
Like, no, but these like weird old comedies, it's like you always have to force that awkward interaction that, that just is like the cringe comedy, that's all it is.
Also, I wanted to point out, because Kent brought this up, not having any distractions, watching the movie. I read this, that apparently, you guys remember the love montage when they're falling in love in a butcher shop and they're chopping up meat and
it's so long.
And cattle skulls?
So long.
And it's so Mike Myers heavy.
And it's not very funny.
I actually really enjoy it because the music. I love that song, The Rush. But I also like when he hits the cow and starts making noises and everyone looks in the back. Yeah. But here's the thing. Apparently Mike Myers was so distracting that Nancy Travis actually cut off the tip of her finger in real life while they were shooting and had to wear a Band-Aid. They stitched it back together. I saw the Band-Aid. In the part where she's comforting when they were in bed and she like has his hand on his shoulder.
Really?
I saw the Band-Aid and I was like, oh, it's true. It's all true.
Oh, the 90s where they just had to shoot the same day.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
So yeah, watch out for that. Watch for the Band-Aid on her finger.
So once again, Jake, you've been a little quiet on your thoughts on this movie.
Have I?
Yeah, so you said Mike Myers is too much. Some scenes went on too long. Did you guffaw at this movie?
Guffaw? Gosh.
Because it's a comedy. It's a straightforward comedy.
You know what? No, this one is
it's a dark comedy.
This one hits like mild entertaining notes for me. It's like there's moments like the whole dad scene with, it's like an orange on a toothpick. I can't, however, a Scottish accent. How does it go, Joel?
It's like his hair's like an orange on a toothpick.
Yeah, like an orange on a toothpick.
Sputnik. Spherical but quite pointy in parts.
Yeah. And
what's it from? What's it from?
Stop. There's a game Joel does, and I hate it.
Anyway, it's like, head, move, and like all that crap. That's funny stuff, And,
Piper down.
We have a piper down.
And there's these bits where I'm like, oh, that's just great comedy. And then there's other parts like we were talking about, like with the cappuccino. It's
the
like, oh, this is so big. Wow, what a big cup of cappuccino. I'm like, really? Is this funny?
I feel like that was him getting his feet wet into his role. Like, honestly, I don't think that movie starts until he turns to Tony and says, why are you dressed like that? Like that to me, that's when the movie begins.
Yeah, it's like it's okay. It's like mildly amusing. It never really takes off, but it stays mildly amusing. I like it. If you need a safe kind of movie, I'd recommend it.
Well, and I want to say this, and Kent's not going to agree. I know, but I feel like this is a smarter movie, only because, for example, when he's in the bathroom. And Harriet's there meeting his family, and he starts looking at the Weekly World News, and he looks at the different things. I think like a movie today, every time it showed one of the things on the paper, it would flash back to her telling him, oh, I dated a martial arts expert, or you hear a voiceover saying, oh, I dated a lounge singer. But in this one, you just get to see him read it, and then he just peeks out the door, and you just connect what's happening. And then you don't know. Like, you don't know if she did it or she didn't do it.
This is one movie that I think would play better now if it were made today instead of then. Well,
who would you cast?
Then I actually really liked it back then as well. I don't know who I'd cast, but
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, someone a little more even.
Does he
keel.
work still?
No, but someone more even keel that is just really likable as the lead.
Who's not trying to do SNL skits?
Because I feel like the fear of commitment is a great story to this day, and you could use dating apps, even though that's quite dated, or it could be like a true crime podcast that was mentioned instead of the Weekly World News. The papers, as they say.
I think you're totally right. This is a movie that could be remade, updated, because still hold up.
I think Mike Myers as Charlie dates the movie more than even the music in the movie and the slam poetry. Although the line
that
of
could happen
"She
still.
stole my heart and my cat."
Yeah.
That line gets me every time because they show the cat and it's just looking into space and it's so good.
Which I recognized that actress and I was like, who is she? So I actually did pause the movie just so I could get on my IMDb and look it up instead of just going through it and be distracted.
That's funny.
So I don't think this is a hilarious movie. For me, this barely holds up.
I'm with you. It just barely.
It holds up, but barely.
It's like right over the line. It's like, okay, I will recommend you.
Because it becomes... At the end, sorry, Jake.
No, that's it.
It becomes a PG-13 comedy at the end where this climax, which is ridiculous, incredibly ridiculous.
They throw an axe over the top.
And there's shots where, he almost gets hit in the junk, basically, and it's so PG-13.
Yeah, and then he stares at the camera, breaks the fourth wall about that.
Oh, man. When he kicks her and looks at the camera and goes... I guess I had to try.
Oh no!
I laughed every time.
Maybe this doesn't hold up.
Yeah, that's actually where it almost lost me. I was like,
I like
this part is way too dated for me. Like it hurts. It hurts my eyes. It hurts my
I'll
head.
tell you this, guys.
And honestly, there's a lot of plot holes here because their whole friend that they introduced and not having Nancy Travis know about the whole plot with everything. I don't know. There's a lot of holes here.
I don't remember any holes.
Yeah, what
Remember
do
the
you mean?
friend that came in
Ralph.
that hugged him with Ralph.
Yeah.
But Ralph was actually the dead husband.
Right, it could be both. She could have given him that.
It seems a little
That's not a
convenient.
plot hole.
She knew.
Kent, do you know
she
what-
knew what
do you know
Rose
what
It
was
is
doing.
confusing. I
Do you
don't
know
know if it's a
two people
plot
with the
hole, but
same
it doesn't
name?
make sense.
What's that?
Do you know two people in the same name? Do you have a friendship with?
I don't
people with the
dream
same
about
name?
them and talk about them in my sleep.
Actually, you don't notice, but you do.
I actually talk in my sleep, everybody.
But this one, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I'm just going to say that I think it holds up the best out of any movie we watch because of the time capsule quality.
Yeah.
This one, I laughed more than any of the other ones because this one was so near and dear to my heart. In fact,
You got to stop it, though.
I know, and I
Take 'em off.
I tried.
Yeah.
But I bought this movie, guys, just so I could own it after watching it because I've wanted to own this one for so long that I was like,
Do you buy
we have to
physical
do it?
copies still?
I did with this one.
Who would you show this movie to?
My kid's a little bit older. They got to be at least in their teens before they watch this one because there's some stuff there that I don't want them to see quite yet.
Like
Yeah.
Mike Myers' butt. Did you notice she reaches down and touches his butt?
Yeah. Well, here, so
He probably worked out so much for that scene.
Oh my gosh. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like why are you coming down in a towel? Why are you walking forward in a towel? Why are you hugging her in a towel?
no, he was coming down the stairs to see who was there, and then when he realized it was Ralph, he was so excited he gave her a hug without thinking
No,
about
he
it.
wrote in a whole thing so that he could show his butt in the movie. Like that's what happened.
You could watch this movie and it shows his whole cinematography from then on because you get Shrek and Austin Powers all in
You can
this
hear
movie.
Shrek in the dad, definitely.
Yeah, I hear Austin Powers sometimes too.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Would you watch it again?
Totally. I own it now. I
I
bought it for the show, and I'm keeping it forever.
I'm not going to watch this movie for another 10, 15 years at least.
Should it be remade?
Yes.
I think
This
it-
more than any movie on the list.
I think so
it
too.
could be, but I'd rather it not.
This is the only one that I'm like, okay, I would.
This is not sacred whatsoever.
What if they gender swap the roles, guys?
They could. But then having a woman fall in love with a possible serial killer on a true crime, that would work. That would work.
All of a sudden, it's much more of a serious drama.
Women love true crime podcasts.
Generalization.
That's what I
on
do.
Baconsale.
Generally, ladies.
Joel, what's the next one?
All right, the next one we have is Billy Madison, February 1995.
In order to inherit his fed-up father's hotel empire, an immature and lazy man must repeat grades 1 through 12 all over again.
And this is directed by Tamra Davis, who also directed Crossroads, Half Baked, and CB4.
I watched this today.
Nice.
Today.
Yeah.
Did you know she also did like the biggest music videos for Hanson, Tone Loc, Depeche Mode, and Britney
Did
Spears?
a lot of those, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a music video director.
I held off on this one because I was afraid to watch it again.
So this had a budget of $10 million, which is really low considering.
Wow. Those giant parties they were throwing.
Yeah. And then the box office was $26.4 million.
You
So-
say giant party is like that was more than one scene they shot.
I know, right?
Like it was just one thing they shot.
They literally probably just tore it down, put another one up, tore it down, put another one up. They had
Yeah.
everyone there that one day, and they hired a bunch of kids who they paid peanuts.
So, elephant in the room. This is a very immature movie, beyond belief. And this is one that when we reference everyone, I think, but Joel in the world, when you think of Adam Sandler in his glory days, you would say Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. And Joel, what are your thoughts on those two movies?
not a fan.
Not a fan. But, you know, and then he gets...
But you do like later ones.
Yeah, well, I like Adam Sandler when he's nice.
Because I've heard
I don't
you,
like
I've
him when
heard you
he's
say you
mean.
like Waterboy and you like Daddy's. What is that one?
No, I like
Big
the
Daddy.
Wedding Wedding Singer is probably my favorite.
Well,
Adam
it's the
Sandler
best
movie.
one, yeah.
And then I did like Waterboy,
Ugh.
Mr. Deeds. I like that one,
Mr. Deeds.
Yeah, that's tired Sandler, though. That's when he starts becoming tired. I think Wedding Singer is the
Pinnacle.
a pinnacle. Definitely.
I would agree.
These ones were early Sandler when people were ready for, once again, this SNL dirty humor.
Well, and that's the thing. This is his. So this was right before him and Chris Farley got fired from SNL.
Yeah.
like this came out in February. They
Weird
were
to think they got
in
fired.
May.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you see his or hear his monologue when they had him back on
yeah. They
recently?
did a little song about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did this whole like they
I got
fired me.
fired, I got fired.
and then I'm done, and now I've grossed $5 billion. So I guess you could say I won.
Yeah.
That's good, actually.
So
Yeah.
this movie, I mean, we talk about Mike Myers with the opening. With the opening kind of stand-up
He
routine.
can't
that's
get
a little
outside of
cringy.
his own type of humor.
This one literally starts out with Adam Sandler just sitting there and going, "Shubba-dubba-dubba-doo.
Yeah, the gibberish.
Wubba-dubba-dubba-doo." The shtick is cringy. Absolutely cringy. Also, I want to know if Triscuit paid for paid product placement because they're like,
I would like a delicious Triscuit in my mouth.
Triscuit. Did you not give me a delicious Triscuit? I gave you a delicious Triscuit. Like I was like, what is going on? Why are we talking about Triscuits?
I remember Triscuits.
I want to say
they were terrible.
I spent the whole movie trying to figure out if he was just dumb or if he actually had mental issues.
This is actually what my wife asked. She goes, "Is he actually trying to impersonate someone with like mental problems?
Like,
because that's what it looks like."
Why would grown men act like this? Like, is there anyone actually that? I mean, he was almost 30 at the time. Maybe it would have worked if he was younger.
This is either the worst performance or the best performance in a movie because when he was under the influence, he acted like this. But when he was going to school, he was an altogether different character.
Well,
right?
And he did say, I think, not Billy Madison. What's his name? Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler said that of all his movies, this seems to be the closest to he's come to playing himself.
Which
yikes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's true because I've heard he's a really nice guy, and in this one, he is
everybody
abrasive.
likes him.
He
Everybody
seems like
likes
really
him.
good. Kate Beckinsale likes him.
Like he's a chill dude who doesn't care what people think and just likes to kind of goof around. He does seem like a nice guy.
I think he was paid to be himself in this movie, and so for the first 20 minutes, when he's like, "Gotta chase the big penguin,"
what the heck?
You know, and it's stupid. It is so dumb and kind of like Mike Myers when he forgets about himself and then goes, "Oh yeah, there's a," and I'm saying this in quotes, "plot to move forward." He becomes better at progressing what's meant to happen.
Now, I feel like Jacob and I are hating on this movie a lot.
Actually, can I give you a quote
liked it.
as soon as you're done with this?
Yeah, go for it.
After I finished today, I wrote, "Billy Madison is the most shameless, juvenile, nonsensical slew of relentless stabs at abrasive humor that I can remember seeing in a movie." And I say
Is
that.
there a button there?
No.
I was waiting for the butt too. Mike Myers wasn't there.
No, that wasn't so very nice order. Yeah, but at the same time, I have to say it's all, and I say this with some hesitation because it's almost a brave movie because of how shameless it is. It's like if I made that, I would be horrified that everyone would think so much less of me as a human being. You know, forever, ever having made something that was that insanely juvenile.
Yes.
Like, but he does shamelessly over and over, and then there's songs, and it's just so much nonsense.
I will go back to school.
But then, like, in that end, when he's like, "Do you have any more gum?" Is that just because he couldn't come up with the rhyme?
Yes, that's exactly what that was.
Also,
Well, it's
and then
something
the random dance on the stairs to "I'll Tumble For Ya" by the Culture
Oh,
Club.
that was the weirdest part of the movie.
I kind of went, wait,
Because you hear it in the soundtrack, and probably not in the mansion.
I think it was just
It was
improv, and
Sandler
they
being
just left
Sandler.
it. Yeah, that's all it was.
Also, speaking of, remember we talked about the mom hitting on Tony in Saturday Night Axe Murder. What was with the maid hitting on
I'm
Billy
sorry.
Madison?
That was so funny.
No,
It was funny.
it was not. funny.
because
I remember
it
as a
makes you
kid, I got
feel
a laugh.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, super uncomfortable.
So-
I laughed out loud as a teenager. I remember that.
I was trying my best to kind of just like not look into this movie because it's supposed to be a dumb movie, like Bill and Ted's. It's supposed to be ridiculous and not take itself too seriously.
But this one's meant to be like
But then when he's
brain
like
damaged.
But then when he's like,
Yeah.
who would steal all the lunches? And it shows the bus driver eating all the lunches. One, why would he do that? And two, how did he meet up with Billy's friends? All three of them are sitting together, and I was like, wait, how do they know each other?
I keep waiting for them to tie it back in, and they never do.
Just like Jake said, because they've traveled a long way. This is a brave movie for how dumb it is.
Yes, it is.
Don't
So
get it.
let me give you my experience because I chose this movie because I was like, there's got to be a movie among this list that doesn't hold up. And I full on expected to sit down and watch and say, I am so ready to hate this movie now because I loved it when I was 13 or 14 years old because that was the kind of immature humor that I think it was like tension was building at that time. And it's like, that's a dirty toilet joke. And I thought that was funny back then.
Right.
And it says a lot about you that you didn't find that funny. So good for you, Joel.
But I don't know why I liked dumb humor.
Because it went too far. It just goes too far
Maybe
with it.
so.
But I sat there and I was like, oh man, I hate Adam Sandler. Why is he dancing on the stairs? Because I don't like Adam Sandler movies. But then it caught me off guard so many times. And I laughed out loud. And then I looked around the room because I'm watching it by myself. And I said, I'm so ashamed right now. Don't laugh at this movie. Like, for example, like the field trip. Like,
Yeah, what got you?
If peeing your pants is cool, then consider me Miles Davis. even though I never really found that funny before,
Yeah.
I did now because the old lady was so sweet.
The line I like better for her was when she started talking, when she's talking, and she's
it was
like,
that Sasquatch.
"Is anyone listening to me?"
Yeah, no, that was good.
That was the only
That
part
was
I
good.
smirked. But I will say I did not laugh once during the entire watching of this movie.
Oh man, I did.
Not
I did.
once. I
So
did,
hold on, but were you so like your nostalgia glasses? Were you so closed off? Were your arms
No.
folded? You're like, I will not.
I
laugh.
legitimately went, and here's the thing: I legitimately went to like thinking like, okay, let me see if I find this funny. And I remembered certain parts being funny. Like I remember Chris Farley being funny. He wasn't as funny as I remembered him. I remember the part with Steve Buscemi being really funny.
That is funny.
No, Chris Farley getting overheated while driving the bus is funny.
I didn't laugh though. Like I watched that kind of. It was
Steve
one of those,
Buscemi
oh,
when
yeah.
he crosses out the name.
Okay.
When he crosses out the name and put the
awesome.
lipstick on and lays down.
That's
Yeah.
comic brilliance.
It is
right there.
No, yeah,
That-
that's one of those like 2% moments.
But
of
I remembered
gold.
it being
Yes.
laugh out loud, and instead it was just smirk. And I was like, man, did I just
No, and
remember
then they
being
call
funnier?
it back because he takes out the guy at the end,
Yeah.
and just does this cute wave.
Yeah.
And after
It was a cute
Eric
wave.
pulls a gun on Billy Madison,
It was like
and
the
then
only
gets shot. He's at Billy's graduation in the audience. Why would they invite Eric?
Why did he bring a gun?
For the same reason that
Why
the two
did Eric
buddies-
throw something and put his secretary in
Joel?
a coma for no reason?
For as stupid as this plot is, you describing it makes me like it more.
Did you guys remember that he throws something and all of a sudden you see his secretary, the actress, the extra, fall down, and then it's like his secretary's in a coma. Billy's feeling
I'm sorry.
and I'm like, what?
The clown
Why?
falling down to the party killed me. Did back then,
Everyone laughed at him, and he's
and
bleeding
his
out of the
mouth
mouth.
is bleeding. But he wasn't dead. He just got a broken leg and a hemorrhage in his head. That's all.
They killed off an entire family in a station wagon.
The O'Doyles.
the O'Doyle
For doing
rules.
nothing more than being
By the
a
way,
schoolyard
there
bully.
would be no Steve Holt without the O'Doyles. Let's be honest.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Listen, here's how this movie breaks down. 80% of this is unwatchable.
Drivel.
I mean, it is just cringing. I mean, almost like nauseating. And then you've got about like
The third grade is cool. I really enjoyed the third,
third grade is
parts.
fun. Yeah. There's some cute parts there. And then
You don't
and
like
then
Miss
you've
Lippy?
and then you've got like, I don't know, 13% of like this is tolerably cute or interesting, and which is a lot of the third
Yeah,
grade.
it's really cute, casual groping and looking up people's
Hey,
skirts.
80%, 80%, I said. And then you have this little bit that's okay. Then you have like 2 or 3% that's funny. That's just like deeply, deeply funny.
Okay, gentlemen.
This one made me gut laugh.
2%, Joel.
I got laughed 4 times in this movie, and I was very ashamed, truthfully. And I wish I didn't.
Billy Madison is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever seen. At no point in this rambling, incoherent movie was it even close to anything that could be considered clever comedy. Everyone in this room and listening to this podcast is dumber now for having heard us talk about it. I award it 2 stars, and may heaven have mercy on Adam Sandler's soul.
2 stars is pretty good.
2 stars is only...
For saying the most
Better
idiotic
than Marnie.
movie
He
of
likes
all
it more than
time.
Marnie.
Do you like the movie more than Marnie?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Jake, you have to
nuts.
say this holds up now.
That line is so brilliant, though. Like, that whole thing is so great. It's delivered just
But if you remember, my
perfectly.
2-star rating is essentially saying I don't like it. I
can
can
see why
understand why
people
people do. But even then, it was pushing it because I almost gave it a 1.5 because I was like, no one should like this movie. It's a terrible
grating,
movie
in a way.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
totally grating. It's nails on a chalkboard.
It is.
But
It
Joel,
is.
It's a comedy. In comedies, obviously you want a comedy to be great, but a comedy, if it surprises you with humor and makes you laugh when you don't
with
think
humor.
you should.
There you go, with humor.
No, this movie has
Surprises
moments.
or surprises with humor.
That's what we're saying. You know, Jake and I have said this movie has its rare golden moments.
Yeah.
And rare
You have-
callbacks
it's
that work.
basically-
Rare
it's-
bronze moments.
listen,
Let's not get
no,
crazy.
there-
here.
Listen,
gold here.
this is dumpster diving, and you are sticky and gross, and you smell, and then you find a Rolex. Like, that's what this is.
Why are we finding a Rolex here? You're saying there's a Rolex in here, or is it like a Timex?
No, like the guy you just quoted, right? You're watching that whole movie and you're like, how do I even endure this? And then he gives that line and you're like, exactly.
But it's just the ones that everyone
and
would
it just
quote.
it just
Joel,
rings.
The only
so
reason
true
I
in
know
those
that the only
moments.
reason I know people like this movie is because I tell you how many times I heard "Stop looking at me, Swan."
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not funny. Or this kid used to always say "Smiley," and I remember it just annoyed me every time he said it.
Don't tell me my business, devil woman.
Isn't that from Waterboy?
No, it's from all of Adam Sandler's movies that started here.
Yeah. Also, why was Chris Farley helping Adam Sandler with his homework randomly?
See, that's another funny scene.
I remember it being funnier, but then I went, wait, why is he even there?
That is correct. Oh no, you've changed my mind, Joel.
No, this is terrible.
So Joel, do you think it holds up?
No. Of course, I didn't like it in the first place. So this kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of a not a fair comparison, but I didn't think it was good then. I really don't think it's good now. In fact, I think it's worse now because of many things that are going to just offend people these days.
Okay, Jake.
I was shocked in one more way by just how, gosh, tenacious it was. It just clung to this sadistic humor for that whole time. And I kind of have to give it some props for that. Please, heaven on earth, anything to stop me from ever watching this again.
You never watch it
I
again.
will never watch this
I hope
again.
to never watch this again.
Like, never, ever, like,
I'm not showing this to my kids.
like, but,
Well, yeah.
but because it just was never worth all that suffering. But even though I absolutely will defend, because there's these moments, because you're just kind of like cringing and suffering through it, and then it just breaks through with just like sunlight in these little brief instances, and it's so funny in those moments. And I laughed for sure.
Was the
Yeah.
brief moment of sunlight the scary lunch lady out of nowhere?
That was funny, actually.
And that's a callback to Lunch Lady Land.
It was, but at the
Yeah,
same
it
time,
was.
like
It was.
this feels shoehorned in. It was so sloppy.
It's these
Joe.
SNL movies, though. Oh, haven't you seen these SNL movies where they just
I
shoehorn
like
everything
he
in?
laughs and he's like, "Lady, you're scaring us," but it's real because it's scary.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, actually, that was pretty good.
Mrs.
You know?
Lippy putting glue on her face.
That was
What
awesome.
about?
It was good. Billy, you're gonna have
He
to
does.
leave.
He does kind of make you like it more, doesn't he?
Yeah.
yeah. Just the
Because I
complaining
hate
about
it?
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I was
Yeah.
pretty negative on this one as well. Man, you've made me like it more, and you reminded me of scenes that I like.
Oh, shut
and
your
I
face.
hate movie quotes.
I reminded of you scenes you've liked from a movie you watched 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, I remember this as a teenager. Like, you watch the movie, and I remember I laugh a couple times, then you start talking about it with friends, and it just gets funnier and funnier and funnier, and it doesn't make any sense. Same thing happened with Austin
It's
Powers.
like a bad date. It's terrible in the moment, and then you remember this, you're like, I guess I can
It
laugh
is.
at that because it's so bad.
Yeah, it's
No,
kinda
but
like that
during the
sometimes.
date, there's a great dessert. Not a great meal, but a great dessert.
What does that mean, Kent?
I want to know what that means.
Yeah.
too.
What kind of dessert are you getting?
Like strawberry cheesecake.
What is that code for, Kent?
It's strawberry
Stop
cheesecake. General strawberry cheesecake.
Let's all just laugh off casual assault and move on.
What? He wants to make sure no one likes this movie. So, Jake, what's your final verdict?
No.
Okay. Well, then it's obviously a no. Look, I laughed more in this
Were you
movie
saying
than I
no
did
to, or
in the
you
other
saying
ones.
yes?
I actually had split vote because I wanted to be a tiebreaker.
If honestly, it depends who I'd be recommending it to.
Who would you recommend this to
Exactly,
anyone?
exactly. I'm trying to think. It would have to be someone who didn't care about their own morality.
Your
No,
nephew
no.
who's been kicked in the
That's-
head by a mule.
like that guy.
See, that's
Yeah.
going too far. I would actually say if people actually enjoy Sandler movies at this point, I would say go see where it all began.
It honestly hasn't
Who
changed
enjoys
much.
Sandler now that didn't enjoy Sandler then?
Dude, his movies still like his murder mystery movie.
Yeah, did you see-
millions of people
Dude,
watched
oh,
it.
we should talk about that on the
According to
Bacon
Netflix.
bit.
What's
Remember
that?
how Netflix kind of fudges their numbers and people aren't quite
Well,
sure?
who
Oh,
doesn't?
they gave exact numbers.
No, Jacob. They're known for like fudging a bit.
No, but they wouldn't give this guy millions upon millions of dollars if people didn't watch his stuff.
Yeah.
And
Look,
so
although,
I would tell
should say-
people to watch where he started this.
For the record, I like Adam Sandler as a person. I actually think he's kind of a decent person, and I think he's smart too because what he does is say, where do I want to go on vacation? Italy. I'm going to film a movie in Italy,
yeah.
and that's
He's
now
brilliant.
a paid for vacation.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we talked about Billy Madison a
This
long
one does
time.
not hold up.
No, but
No.
wait. So what did we say? Bill and Ted's did, and Sorry Axe Murder did.
Yeah,
And
barely.
this one didn't.
Barely. I mean, there is a very select audience I would say it does hold up for, but it's nobody I know. You know?
And honestly,
I don't
after,
associate with those
after
people.
talking about both, even though I'd say Billy Madison does not hold up, I would watch this one again over So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, I would not.
I
I'd watch
know.
that
It's
movie.
crazy.
I'd watch the remake of So Married an Axe Murder, but I wouldn't go watch that again,
I
actually.
love Sorry Married Axe Murder. And the final one we have for today for our Will It Hold Up? Does It Hold Up show?
Who did it come from? Who chose this one?
This one was actually chosen by the patrons.
Yep.
We did a poll. We gave them a couple of movies, and they chose this one.
What about Bob?
What
May
about
1991.
A successful psychotherapist loses his mind after one of his most dependent patients, an obsessive-compulsive neurotic, tracks him down during his family vacation.
And this is directed by Frank Oz, who directed Dark Crystal, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Little Shop of Horrors, and was the voice of Fozzie Bear and Miss Piggy.
Also directed Bowfinger and the Stepford Wives remake.
Starring Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. This had a budget of $39 million, and it made $63.7 million. So moderate success.
Cards on the table?
Yeah.
Never liked this movie.
Really?
When I grew up watching this movie, it gave me anxiety at a very young age. I was 10 when it came out. I probably watched it when I was 12. And I I liked Bill Murray.
Did you go to see a psychiatrist about that anxiety?
Yeah, I did right after,
Good.
and he got really upset.
I actually blame my misunderstanding of Tourette syndrome on this movie.
Oh, totally.
Because this is one of those stereotypes where
By the
they
way,
kind of
once
throw it out
again,
there.
You don't. If
Pretty
you think
harsh
it, you don't
language.
have it, Joel.
Yeah, it's PG.
Yeah.
Yet they throw out some pretty awful language there in the middle.
Interesting about this, Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray did not get along
No.
at all.
Both
That makes sense.
But Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss, and Frank Oz, the director, have all said in separate interviews on separate occasions, independently of each other, that it was tense on set between Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. Like they did not get along with each other.
Well, that
All of them
probably
said
probably adds to the
I bet it does.
you know the screen tension.
That's what
like the
Richard Dreyfuss
intentional-
said, and Bill Murray. He said I annoyed Richard Dreyfuss, so I kept annoying him, and it worked.
And I kind of blame Bill Murray. Apparently, he was a real diva. So the producer, Lars Iskin, she had a disagreement with Bill Murray, and he threw her into a lake.
Yes, he says it was playful. She actually said it was playful. Like she said the push was playful. The argument just before it was not.
Except for she also said in 2003, Bill threatened to throw me across the parking lot
Yeah.
and then broke my sunglasses and threw them across the parking lot.
Yeah.
So she says, I can safely say that is not common behavior. This is, once again, for these comedies, maybe it's the era. And I will say, like Keanu Reeves to an extent, because that's what we know Keanu Reeves as. Every one of these leads in these movies is just really them, right? Because we have Bill Murray being Bill Murray.
Yes,
Hyper Bill Murray.
right.
And it gets to be too much.
Is Bill
I
Murray
would
doing
say.
Bill Murray shtick almost the entire time?
Whereas now he plays Sleepy Bill Murray, and that's all he does.
Yeah. This film is kind of scary when you think about it. I mean,
In
just
fact, this
imagine-
should have been a
It
thriller.
is.
Just
Yeah, it feels a little horrific.
I mean, just imagine that this doctor gets a brand new patient, doesn't know how stable he is, doesn't know his background, and then the patient stalks his family, finds him on vacation, and then moves in with him. This is basically Cape Fear.
It is.
It's a comedy version of Cape
well,
Fear.
it feels almost like a dark comedy. Like it's
Oh, it is a dark comedy. It's
Yeah.
considered a dark comedy. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, there's some terrible stuff that happens. Like he literally fakes his own suicide so that he can find out where this doctor lives. Like that's a deep, dark behavior.
I would say nothing about this movie is really relatable or realistic. Like this guy's family, Richard Dreyfuss's family, they don't believe a word he says. They have no respect for him as the dad or
Which
husband.
is funny because I'm like, no one takes him seriously, and I'm like, this is a legitimately
Yeah, like,
scary situation.
Yeah, Bill's here. He's a nice guy. He's going to stay. Even his sister, like everyone has
Bill?
bought into this thing. Yeah, Bill, Bob. And then it's weird because Bob's character. I really do think this is a thriller. With it, if there was an extra 5 minutes, it would have been Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Because Bill, he is, you can see at the beginning, which is kind of a humorous part, the intro, where he has all these like idiosyncrasies and cleanliness issues, and he has to walk through that really thin hallway. Like I enjoyed that. And then all of his idiosyncrasies drop. All it becomes is dependency on someone else.
Did you guys think that Bob, the character, was a bit of a con artist?
Yes.
Like, because
He knew what he was doing because then he played up at the insane asylum, the sanitarium.
But then it also felt like, I mean, even just teaching Richard Dreyfuss's son to dive.
yes.
I just thought to myself, it's almost like he's conning the kid into it, like he's tricking him into do it, like he knows what he's doing.
I think it was just situational. Like that's how it is.
you know what I mean? It's like-
that's how it's written. Though.
I think it wasn't really written well. I think they forgot what the character was, and they said he's just going to drive him crazy.
Except for the fact that the whole point of this movie is that Bob gets better while Dr. Leo Marvin gets
worse. Yeah, but I think part of the thing is Dr. Leo Marvin is so intimidating to the family, and Bob is so approachable just because he's friendly and goofy and afraid that everyone can relax around him because they can't relax around their dad, which is why they start being drawn to him.
Maybe
and,
it's because of how they
and
treat
turned
their
away.
dad.
But do you guys remember this one being quoted also endlessly?
No,
No,
I'm sailing.
I only remember, is it hand shucked? That's the
corn?
quote I remember. Yes.
Yeah,
Is corn hand shucked?
I will to this day. Every time someone says New Hampshire, I go New Hampshire, like Bob does when he finally realizes where he is. The soundtrack is a little weird on this. It's like kind of a synthesized thing. Like all
It's
these other
actually
ones I
one of the
liked.
most dated things about the movie.
Yeah, it's little because all these other ones like Sorry Married an Axe Murder and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, even Billy Madison, the soundtracks were kind of like, okay, this is a fun little
Yeah.
music behind it. This one felt dated to me. The actress who played the daughter Anna was actually 26 when this movie came out.
And the mom was 36.
Yeah, she was 10 years older than
funny.
the daughter, which is funny.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, speaking of misrepresentation, Tourette syndrome, obviously not the way it is.
Yeah.
Also, the Heimlich. You don't give the Heimlich to people when they're coughing.
You're breaking it down.
I was looking at that going, you don't give the Heimlich if they're coughing. You let them cough it up. If they stop breathing, then you give them the Heimlich maneuver. So
This is before they knew.
Apparently so. But everyone seems so oblivious to Bob, almost to a fault.
Yes.
Spoiler alert for 1991 movie, he blows up their house. They barely bat an eye.
This is Meet the Parents before that movie ever came out. And what I mean by that is anything that could go wrong will go wrong to the point where it's predictable. Like, I find this movie, I hate watch this movie.
Really?
It made me anxious the whole time.
Made you anxious? Like, what do you mean?
Just because I think most people will probably relate to Leo Marvin.
I think
having this crazy person follow him.
Isn't that the idea though? That's like that.
Yeah,
that's
but
the
then
tension.
how is it funny? Like, I don't find Bill Murray funny in this movie at all. It's effective because
can
it
I
drives you
present an
crazy.
idea to you?
Yes.
I think back when this movie came out, most people identify with Dr. Leo Marvin. However, now I think that a lot of people would more identify with Bill Murray's character Bob because we're all broken, we're all crazy,
interesting.
We all have our quirks.
But no, I still couldn't.
I couldn't. I was always stressed out by this movie because I was like, no one's taking him seriously, and this could be a dangerous situation.
This honestly felt like a 90s sitcom without a laugh track. Like one that was meant to, because he says things, Bob says things, and you're like, oh, that's kind of terrible. But it's almost like he says it in such a zany character that people should be laughing to tell you that it's funny. But it's not.
I had kind of a different experience from you guys because I'm watching, especially the first act. I'm watching and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really freaky. I wonder what's going to happen. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is scary. But I'm entertained. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it a couple of times. Like, it's been forever though.
This is one of my dad's favorite movies, if I remember right. This film is number 43 on Bravo's 100 funniest movies.
Bravo. Good list to take from Joel.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Bill and Ted is number 24 on that list, though.
Yeah, bravo.
It's the final act for me is where it gets too zany. Right? It's
With
just
death
Also,
therapy.
Yeah.
the outro when I hate, and this is very 80s and 90s, when a movie just has little credits that say, Bob went on to write a book.
I love
Leo Marvin
that.
sued for rights. And I was like, okay, or just
by the
show
way,
us the movie.
Apparently, Richard Dreyfuss did sue the makers of this
Yeah, he
movie
did.
because he felt he got kind of messed over with the budget, with his salary. So he did end up suing the movie, kind of like it says at the end of the movie that he sued the movie.
There's a lot of issues with this movie.
Yeah,
a lot.
So Jacob, ask your questions.
All right, let's hear. Would you share this movie and with whom?
No, but with Bill Murray fans, I guess I would. People that really indulge on Bill Murray for some reason, I would. Which I don't think that should be anyone now.
I know there's people out there who really love this movie back in the day. I only liked it. I still like it.
I hated it.
You hated it?
Hated.
Really?
I'll never watch this movie again.
Did you hate it back then?
Back then, I watched it and I said, I bet I'll have to watch that movie again, maybe in like a group of some sort when someone chooses a movie. But I hope I'm never really in that situation. But now we had to watch it. When this was chosen, I went, okay, let's get this over with. I saved this one till last.
This was my last one too, but I didn't save it to last. I wanted to cushion Billy Madison.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know who I'd recommend it to, though, to be honest. Like
nobody?
I think people could watch it. I think people could enjoy it, but
enjoy?
It's not like, I've never found it to be a laugh out loud comedy.
If this one did take the dark turn, I'd appreciate it a lot more.
It came close.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, right?
Yeah.
Here's actually, I'm going to answer my own question here. I think I would recommend this to people because it's this genre cross that for me makes it feel kind of fresh.
But it doesn't cross the genre.
It does because there's
because it's still a joke, and he marries the sister at the end.
So you've got Bill Murray. I'm not talking about like the end. I'm just saying the journey, right? The experience of it, right? The experience of the movie is you have something that's tension building, genuinely tension building, and Bill Murray being funny. It's like kind of an intense Bill Murray funny, but it's like, oh my gosh, this is a weird combo. It's like a fruit salad I've never had before. You know, it has its own tang to it. It's weird.
This is another film where I feel like the main actor is just doing their shtick the entire time.
This has all the fun of Joe versus the volcano.
No. We should have watched that one.
Oh, man.
No.
That was never a comedy to begin with.
Yeah, that's not a good movie.
For me, it is.
Oh, yeah. See, I find
droll.
I find it funny because
smug and droll.
Maybe it's Doctor suffering when he's being so prideful, or maybe it's just the awkward stuff.
But he earned where he was supposed to be. The whole thing with like the interview for Good Morning America.
Yeah, but he's insanely into himself. So it's like it's okay that he's suffering because
it's okay to humble someone that worked for what they got.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. When he just loves himself instead of the people. I mean, that's what it's set up as.
Taking his family for a month-long vacation to spend some quality time with them.
But he's not. He's spending time with himself. He has a statue of himself. He's obsessed with the interview, not with his family.
He never says that.
Says what?
That's reference to the
Oh.
movie. Yeah.
So I
Okay.
forgot about it.
All right. Would you watch it again?
Never, ever.
Too much tension.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to watching this one again.
Okay.
Out of the list, no, Billy Madison's the least. This would be second least, probably.
All right. So if it came out today, would it be funny? New cast, it's updated.
If it came out, if they remade this one as a little more thriller type thing, where it starts out as a comedy but then turns into a Cape Fear darker thriller, that could be fun to watch.
Yeah, but you know what they would do? Will Ferrell would play Bill Murray's role.
But then
And he would
imagine
be-
Will Ferrell.
No. You're giving it too much credit. They would not. Will Ferrell can't be an actor at this point.
Stranger Than Fiction,
it can't
which
be
came
Will
out in
Ferrell.
2004.
but it showed his
Has he
chops.
tried since then?
Or Jim Carrey. Picture Jim Carrey going serious.
I'd rather not watch Jim Carrey in anything anymore. You know what's
It's all
actually funny?
Sonic. I'm really excited
I
about
remember
Sonic,
in junior high, this refers back to Billy Madison. I was in junior high, and someone was like, "You're one of those kids. I bet you think Jim Carrey's the funniest guy out there." And I was like, "Oh no, he's right." And this kid that was trying to bully me, and I go, "No, I think Adam Sandler's the funniest guy out there." How stupid was
Safe.
I? Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler? It's a bad time.
At the time, there's
What's the right choice there, Ken?
There's no right choice.
Jim Carrey's the right choice, I think, in the 90s.
Well, no, because there's Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
When nature
wasn't
calls,
terrible.
No
It
one
was
cares about Nature Calls.
Nah, it wasn't terrible.
When nature calls.
When
is
Nature
terrible.
Calls.
Are
The
you
sequel.
ready? Chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang.
Baconsale approved. When nature
Bacon
calls.
Self terrible.
It's not terrible.
I'm glad we got a finger boop in
And
the
you
show.
must be the Monopoly guy. I like that movie.
Deaf ears.
No.
All right. Should it be remade?
I think it could be remade, and I think that'd be fun to see.
No.
Who would do who if it were made? Who would be the doctor? Who would be the patient? Do you think?
So Will Ferrell would be the patient. The doctor would be John C. Reilly because people cannot
Oh, my
make
gosh.
a
No,
good movie.
that ruined
It's making
it.
it worse.
That
made
it worse.
Get rid of these people.
That's the truth.
No.
That's the truth. Or it'd be like Paul Rudd would be the doctor. You know, it's so stupid.
All right. Order
I don't want to
these.
think about this movie
man.
anymore.
Both of you have to order these movies favorite to least, or least favorite to favorite.
If I had to rank these in order, it would be it'd probably Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
No, 4-1.
He's doing his
4-1?
4-1.
Billy Madison is my lowest, followed by What About Bob, then So I Married an Axe Murderer, and then Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Did we say if this one holds up? What About Bob?
No,
Does it
haven't.
hold up? Jacob, does it hold up?
Yeah.
Kent?
you first.
No, you first.
Ken's
No.
Ken's
You're gonna
saying
break the
no.
tie.
We
I
already
say
know
no.
Ken's saying no.
Joel, come on.
I haven't decided.
I know you're going to break the tie, but you should say no because it's so aggravating.
I think
it's
it
not
holds
even
up.
a comedy.
It's funny though.
It's not funny.
It is funny.
I'll say this. I feel the same about it now, basically, that I did then, so I think it holds up.
Yeah.
Because it's the same emotions I had where I'm like, I'm not laughing out loud, I'm kind of uncomfortable, but I think people will
As a
still like
comedy, does it hold up?
it.
comedy meant to
as
make
it
you
did
laugh.
then,
Ugh.
which is 3.5 stars.
Wow. Blech.
I think that's about right at 3.5 actually.
Okay, I'm going to go. What About Bob is the bottom of the barrel. Joel, you've kind of changed my mind. I would have said Billy Madison is next, but man, I've laughed about that movie more in this show than I did in Billy Madison.
Yeah.
But still, Billy Madison is second worst. So I Married an Axe Murderer and then Bill and Ted's, obviously.
You know, this is going to really
Bill and
surprise
Ted's
me.
number one?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about this order. Even when I asked you guys, I wasn't planning to say it. But it
Worst to first.
Worst to first would be So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Was the worst?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
That's ridiculous.
Then Billy Madison.
You're putting Billy Madison above So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Do you want to change your mind about What About Bob, Joel?
Well,
After everything you said about Billy Madison, your wife didn't hate So I Married an Axe Murderer.
no, she liked that one. But
So you love your wife?
This is a
Then
personal
bump
thing.
it up.
He has
Yeah.
his own opinion.
I
Joel.
got my own opinion
You
here.
and your wife are one. Thus saith the scriptures.
The general ladies and I agree that What About Bob is terrible.
General ladies. Okay, so I Married an Axe Murderer. Actually, I like all four. Like, there's value in all four. So I Married an Axe Murderer, Billy Madison.
It's ridiculous.
What About Bob? And Bill and Ted's is actually going to take number one for
Yeah,
me.
that's
So
a
all
clear
three of
number
us
one.
agree that it's the number one.
Okay.
All right. So there you go. Thank you for listening to this random episode. Let us know. We want you to actually submit ideas for what you would want us to do if we were to do this again.
Yeah.
What movies should we watch? Comedy or
What
not?
what genre?
It
Pick any
doesn't
genre.
matter. I was going to say any
Or
genre,
era.
any era.
Yeah.
Let us know if what we should watch to see if it still holds up, and we will do this test for you because we are that caring. We will do it. Maybe,
Yeah.
depending on the movies you pick. But first, we would like to thank the I Am the Listener tier of patrons, including Terry Finlay, A More Civilized Podcast, Jordan Rexick, Stephen Ross, and Adrian Gray. And then we have our Bacon Council, including Nicole D. Hale, Spencer Myers, The Spirit of 38, Chris Anderson, Ryan Farron, Matt Smudro, and Reverse Listener.
Ooh.
Join the Bacon Council.
All you guys rock so much.
Thank you. If you want to find me, though, you can find me at 76Joel on Twitter, quote unquote, or you can find me performing at Quick Ones. They perform every Saturday night at
You're
the
gonna have to
Midville
stop
Performing Arts
saying
Center.
that.
For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or go to the Quick Ones Facebook page.
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Kenny3DD. You can read my movie reviews for Showdown.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob A. Rogers, not really anywhere else. And you can find Baconsale on Twitter at Baconsale and on Instagram at Baconsale. And also follow us on Facebook. But you can find our merchandise at tpublic.com/Baconsale. There's a lot of cool stuff there. Also, feel free to submit some ideas to me or requests for merchandise that we could build and provide for you there. Make sure you check us out and help us out on patreon.com. /Baconsale.
So until next time, be excellent to each other. And party on, Baconsale! Barks Red Cream Soda, the official drink of Baconsale.
You could kill them if they broke the NDA.
I don't know if you know how NDAs work.
Porky's? You think Baconsale's going to turn into Porky's? Porky's is a raunchy comedy from the 80s.
It's about pigs.
No.
It's an animated movie from DreamWorks.
No, it's not.
About little pigs.
They're going to look it up.
I'm generally cuddling and,
With whom?
generally lady friends.
Back off, general ladies. I'm going to make a garbage can fall on my dad somehow at this exact moment.
Date night?
Yeah.
Snuggle up and not
Did you
finish
cuddle
it?
to this movie?
Yes, absolutely.
Honestly, it seems like a perfect one for that.
Yeah.
Is that going to do well?
They've talked about this sequel.
Got Keanu Reeves in it.
So you see G. George Wendt.
Look at the size of that boy's head.
Poetry doesn't pay the bills, bro. My side, aide-moi. It's true. It's all true.
You know, it's like an orange on a toothpick.
I don't dream about them and talk about them in my sleep.
Actually, you don't notice, but you do.
I actually talk in my sleep, everybody. Women love true crime podcasts.
Generalization. Generally, ladies.
This is dumpster diving, and you are sticky and gross, and you smell, and then you find a Rolex. Like, that's what this is. It just was never worth all that suffering.
There's a great dessert. Not a great meal, but a great dessert.
What does that mean, Kent?
I want to know what that means.
Yeah. What kind of dessert are you getting?
Like strawberry cheesecake.
What is that code for, Kent?
It's strawberry
Stop
cheesecake. General strawberry cheesecake.
Let's all just laugh off casual assault and move on.
Are you
sequel.
ready? Chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang.
Baconsale approved when
Baconsale approved. Terrible.
Uh,
But man, I've laughed about that movie more in this show than I did in Billy Madison.
devil.
So much giggling.
Got some giggles.
The giggles, Captain.
Tried so hard.
And got so far.
Yeah. You just accused Jake of doing a bad fart joke in the last show.
This
It was a bad
typical
one.
Joel.
And this was a good fart joke.
All right.
He's taking it too far. Yeah.